approximately 30 seconds time. And then we'll be able to get started. Thank you to all those watching via the live stream, those of you who've managed to join us in the Zoom meeting, and I can see there's a few of you watching in YouTube as well. Hey everybody. How's everybody doing today? Nice to see you in the chat. Get some more people coming in. Hey Philip.
Hi James, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic.
Okay, everybody. I can see a few more people are joining us, so I will let them join us. Well, nice to see everybody. I will get things started. We'll get things off to a nice start. I can see there's quite a few people joining us in the SP app and the YouTube feed. So very, very nice to see you all. Alan Salam, and welcome to the 2021 SPE Annual Technical Conference. My name is James Whitaker. I'm the SP Young Member Engagement Manager, and I'm here to thank you and get things started. This is our first student and YP event during the ATCE Summit this year. Before I wanted to get everything started, I wanted to let you know a bit more about what we've got coming up. As you can tell, we're hosting things virtually this year. As a result, we've got people from all over the world, so please do feel free to say hello and make any comments in the chats and things like that. It would be really great to see you. In our session today, we're welcoming our guest speaker, Philip Evo Boomerang. Sorry, I'm going to get that wrong. Ivo Murin, and has been. He's got a great presentation lined up for us. And following that, we're going to leave as much time as possible for questions and comments at the end. What we want to do is we really want to make this as engaging as possible. So any comments that you have coming in, we may message you throughout and see if you want to ask your question on camera. It would be really, really nice to see your faces. If you don't want to do that, it's completely up to you. Don't worry, we won't force you to come on camera. But please do submit your questions anyway. We've got lots and lots of time at the end to get through all of those. We're keeping an eye on the chat discussions in the YouTube feed and also the ATCE app feed as well. So if you're watching live, please use any chat functions that you can, and we will keep an eye on all of those and we'll try and get them through. I can see we've got people from the Philippines joining us on the app. Hello, everybody. Hi, Gwen. Excellent. As I say, if you're watching on demand, where were you? Only joking. You can still submit your questions to us via emailing us at yp@sp.org, though obviously we won't be able to respond to you straight away. But so thank you very much for all of those joining us now. Finally, I do remind you to stay muted while the presentations are on. As I say, we've got lots of times for Q&A at the end, and we'll invite you on if we want you to ask your question during the live session as well. So don't worry about that, just enjoy the show, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. I would also like to thank Dragon Oil. They're the host organization for ATCE this year. Their support has made all of this possible, so it's really, really great to have them on board this year. So now to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Philip. Philip is a talent acquisition manager for the Eastern Hemisphere for Schlumberger Limited. Prior to this, he was the regional HR manager for Schlumberger Northern Middle East, which covered Egypt, Kuwait, Lebanon, Jordan, Qatar, and Sudan. Throughout his career, he has had several leadership positions in Schlumberger, including lead petroleum engineer, regional operations manager, business development manager, training manager, and group HR manager, working in Africa, North America, and the Middle East. He was able to leverage this background in petroleum engineering. He's had a background in operations management and human resources. And with the spectrum of his experience, he's covered a huge array of diverse topics such as oil field development, business strategy and stakeholders management, training and competency management, talent development, HR planning and practices. This has all left him with a really fantastic experience when it comes to talent acquisition. So it should be a really good session today. We're very grateful to have Philip with us. As well, Philip mentors several young professionals within and outside on people engagement and development. He has authored published papers and won various recognitions for his contributions to the industry. He's a member of SPE, so thank you for that as well as the Kuwait Society of Engineers. He's also a registered professional engineer with the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Alberta, Canada. He holds his bachelor's in petroleum engineering from the University of Benin, Nigeria, which I have actually had the privilege of going to, and he has also he has his MSc in oil and gas management from Heriot-Watt University in the UK, which actually I haven't been to, even though I live here. So that is all I have, but I would like to kick things off. So thank you very much, Philip. Please go ahead with your presentation. Very excited.
Thank you very much, James. I'm going to try to share my screen here real quick. Please let me know if you do see. Do you see my screen here? James, you're on mute. Can you let me know if you see my screen?
Yep, you're on. It's all looking good.
Excellent. I'm just trying to see now. Here. All right, good day, everyone. I know that we have people joining from different parts of the world, and I'm really excited to be given the opportunity, and thanks to James and the SP team for this opportunity to host this session on CV and interview skills. As already been introduced, I currently am talent acquisition manager, but most of my background has been in the technical world of reservoir engineering. And so I do have quite a bit of experience, both in terms of managing and hiring new talents into the company. And the whole focus of this session, which I hope will be very engaging and also interesting, will be to talk about what is involved in having a very effective resume, but also in preparing for interviews, as the case may be. So just for starters, I would like to really know the demographics, if you like, of the people we have on the call today. So I'm going to run a very quick poll, and if you don't mind just responding, let's do that right now. I hope you can see my poll. It's just to understand your current job status, where you're at this point in time. If you could just, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just to gauge the spread of people we have on the call. I see a number of responses coming through. Some recent graduates looking for a first-time job, and we have some currently working but looking for new positions. So in general, we have about over 50%, just over 50% of us actually are recent graduates. Almost 30% are currently working but looking for new opportunities, and a couple of people have not yet decided if they want to start a job or to delve into business. So actually, you could see the results right there. So thank you very much for giving us this. So I mean, we have we have designed this session to be applicable both for those who are just graduating and for those who currently have jobs and are looking at what's next, in terms of new job opportunities. So we are gathered here today to discuss what companies are really looking for when they are going about on looking for candidates to work for them in terms of the job application process. And part of that critically is your resume or your CV. And we want to discuss that and how you can adapt that, know and overcome some of the weaknesses or weak spots. And for myself, as somebody who has been involved in that process, I can also hopefully share some thoughts with you on that. And of course, the most critical, very critical part, if you like, of the whole process is your interview and looking at interview skills and some tips on how to excel on the job interviews. So to begin all this, let's start from the jobs in the industry. James was asking me to give some industry perspective and look at what are the jobs in the industry. And there are some very obvious ones that many of us who want to work in the industry are looking at. Petrotechnical, these are people who have studied some petroleum type degree, whether it's geology or geophysics or petrophysics, petroleum engineer and the likes. These are very common. So most of the jobs we'll have are really in this area because people have studied in that area. Field operations, there are so many jobs that are related to working in the field, whether as an operator or a field specialist of one type or the other. But that's another area. Manufacturing is one that many people don't think about when they think about the industry, but there are a lot of jobs in manufacturing. If you realize that practically most oil companies, especially the ones in oil servicing, have a manufacturing center for the tools that they use to drill a well or log a well and so on and so forth. So we do have a lot of manufacturing centers around the world that are hiring people. Research and development or technology centers also are hiring a lot of people. So if your passion is in research, innovation, you should be looking at applying for an R&D type job or tech center. And many companies, even the oil majors, have research centers all over the world. Digital has become a very popular, or it's becoming a very critical, competency that we are needing today in the industry because everybody is digitalizing. You've probably seen a lot of that happening these days, the digital oil field and everything going around that. So people with skill sets in software engineering, data analysts, programmers, AI engineers, cloud computing engineers, and we begin to have more and more relevance in the industry as we go forward. So there are a lot of opportunities opening up here, and I want to highlight at this stage, please take note of that. I actually know a number of people that either I mentor or I know them personally who are taking extra certifications right now in digital just to be more applicable to the industry going forward. And we are coming up with the concept of petro-digital competencies, people who have a petroleum or petrotechnical background but are expanding into the digital world. Functions is another very interesting one. Many people don't think about it, but in every company you have supply chain, you have HR, legal, and so on and so forth, procurement and the likes, So functions are other areas of opportunity. Management is another one. I will say though that most companies like to hire from within. So if you are interested in a management role, you have to be bringing something really top notch to the table that will make a company want to hire a manager from outside. Having said that as well, when you go for a technical interview, I know some of us aspire to become a manager someday. Whereas that remains in the perspective and horizon, let that not be the focus. I want to come here to become a manager. That should not be the immediate focus when you go for an interview. And we'll talk more about that later on. And renewables is another area where, the energy transition we're talking about, and there's now more and more jobs opening up in renewables, chemists and physicists and people who understand the lithium and carbon sequestration and all this stuff are coming into play now. Now, I want to talk about the engagement in terms of jobs in the industry. Some of these jobs will be as a full employee or as a contractor, as a contingent workforce. You come in and just go out just to do a particular job. As a supplier or a vendor, we don't think about this, but you can actually be engaging with a company as a supplier or a vendor or an outsourced service provider, providing drilling fluids or something, some part of the value chain. that you can actually plug in. So I asked that question deliberately on, if you're thinking of going to a job or a business, because sometimes you might not have a job where you're engaged as a full-time employee, but you might be a contractor, or you could be a supplier, or even an outsourced service provider. All that follows a different process. I won't go into that in detail, but just to open your mind here to think about it, because in most of the cases, you will go through a qualification process where you have to present your resume or profile of your company or yourself, and why you are the best person to provide that service or employment. Thank you very much. I think we just started recording now. Okay, so the other thing we have here as well is that, these jobs will come in different schedules, right? Sometimes it's going to be full-time, 8 to 5, like we say. Sometimes it's part-time. Sometimes it's a rotation job where you are some weeks in, some weeks out. Sometimes it's flexible work. You're required to work certain hours of the day or certain days of the week. On some occasion, it could be remote. You are in one location and working differently in another location. And this is happening a lot these days in the new normal post-COVID. Some jobs will require you to travel a lot. And so mobility becomes a very important factor. In some cases, some of this engagement is just freelance. You are called on demand, right? Depending on the need. And sometimes it's based on results, just a project where you just come in, do one piece, and then you're done. And that's it. So it's important to understand this. I wanted to put this context up front, because when you apply for a job, it's very important to understand what are the opportunities out there. In fact, let me back up a little bit. When you start to desire a job or a new job, you really need to look at where are the opportunities, what type of engagement, what kind of schedule, based on what fits both your current situation and your future aspirations, right? So that's why I wanted to mention that. And so that brings us to the topic of what is the why? Why do we have to go through the job application process? And it's because from your perspective, from the candidate perspective, there are several candidates and very few jobs, so we have to go through this process. The job is not going to be given to you. You have to go get it, and sometimes it's because there is just an interesting job opportunity that you found out about and you're like, I want to apply for this job. Sometimes it's because the job plays to your experience or strength. You find that there's a fit there, or just because you like a company. I've seen people who they are working today and they're just like, I like that company, and I want to work in that company. And that's really why they don't really care so much about the job, but because of the company profile. In some cases, it's because of career development. Many people are looking at a job that is going to offer them opportunity for growth, in their areas of interest. In some cases, it's down to the lifestyle fit. And that's why what I mentioned earlier was very important. We have hired some people that started the job and then said, oh, I didn't realize I have to stay 3 weeks from my family. But my friend, you actually applied for a field job that is a rotation job, where you are, X number of weeks in and X number of weeks out. And you can't say that after you got the job that you didn't realize you have to be out, or you didn't realize that being out was going to be this painful, right? So you have to understand the fit to your lifestyle and your personal situation. And of course, some people will apply because the application process is reasonable. I've seen people who refuse to apply for some companies. They're like, oh, it's too cumbersome, 7, 8, 9 stages. No, but this one is easier. So that's why they want to apply for that particular company. And for many of us, it's just a way to say, you know what, I think I'm worth more than I'm earning today, and I need more money. And it's okay. It's okay to say it's because I want to boost my income, right? On the side of the employer, though, you have to realize this when you're applying for a job, that the employer is also thinking of certain things. He has some considerations. Just as we have several candidates with limited job, he is seeking for the best fit candidate because there are several good profiles in front of him. He's looking for somebody with a skill set, but also the attitude that is aligned for the job. Now, some of you don't realize it, but employers are looking for somebody who can easily walk into a team and integrate to the existing team. Somebody who is available to move right now. If I find a profile and the guy is very good, I'm like, fantastic profile, he's super good, skill set, attitude, but he's not available till next year. Whereas my job is now, it will not work. So the employer wants somebody who is meeting specific timing and maybe even mobility requirements. Somebody whose personality or attitude aligns with the company culture and direction. And they are looking at somebody who has a growth potential beyond the current job offer. You have to note this. Most people think an employer is just asking questions and they want to hire you for the current job opportunity. But the fact is that we are often looking at, well, can this guy become the VP or the president or the CEO tomorrow? Does he have in him the potential to go higher than the current role, to become the manager of the team, you know? And the final point there is, what distinct qualities and skill set does this person bring to elevate team dynamics, to improve our customer engagement, to grow our business? Because you could be good with everything else, but what's unique about this person? We're going to have 10, 15 good, very good profiles. But what starts to differentiate and distinguish people are the distinct qualities and skill set that will improve the team, right? So this perspective, I'm deliberately mentioning it and spending a bit of time on it because I want you to think about it in presenting your resume, in answering questions in your interview, because this is what they are looking for, you know. So you have to be able to take note of that and plan for that, and know that they're asking you these questions because they want to see a certain skill set that will transcend the current job that you're applying for. So let's look at your dream job in 3 phases, you know, searching for the opportunities, going through the application process, doing the job interviews. This is the normal buckets that the whole process goes through. But I want to make you think a little bit more about your motivation. I mentioned from the beginning, why? What is your why? And I really want you to make sure you spend time to think about it, to think about why I want this job, because there are some questions that will come up in an interview that could be as direct as that. And sometimes I ask people, why do you want this job? Why do you think you are the best fit for this company, right? So you really need to be able to understand fully where your motivation and to be able to communicate that very well. Sometimes your motivation might appear to some employers as being selfish. So you have to be careful how you respond to that question, you know? So if I go and say, I want more money, by itself, innately, it's not a problem to want more money. But you should not go in front of an interview panel and they say, why do you want this job? Oh, because I want more money, right? You completely create a different perspective of your motivation and drivers, you know? And a recruiter might think, or a hiring manager might think, this is probably somebody who's going to become a problem for us because every week he's going to be asking for a raise. And nobody wants a high maintenance employee. So you want to make sure it's very clear that when you communicate your motivation, first of all, you have to understand your motivation. And when you communicate it, it is aligned with the company policy. So I'll mention this later on. You have to study the company. You know, what are they about? What are they going for? Understand the job and make sure your motivation is aligned with what that company stands for and what the job is about. And you're somebody who likes to be innovative. And I feel that this company presents me the best opportunity for me to express my skill set in innovation. And then you can always chip in at the end and say, and of course, I believe I'll have a better opportunity for growth and be able to improve my personal financials as well. You know, it could be you put it with a smile at the end and it sounds like a light moment there. It sounds very good, but they remember what really you are about. It's the guy who is an innovator and wants to join us to be able to innovate and contribute, right? So be very clear about your motivation. The other thing at the other end is whether you get the job or not after the interview. Start thinking about your impact strategy, right? The impact strategy is, how do I then succeed in this job after getting the job? Or if I don't get the job, how do I retool my plan to make sure that I go through this process again and I win get my dream job the next time? So it's a 4-stage process I call inspire to acquire, which is basically your inspiration is your motivation. Your aspiration is when you're looking and searching. Your perspiration is the 2 stages there of application and job interview. That's when you're going through the process. You're perspiring through the process. And at the end, you might acquire that job, or you might have to go back and retool and refire, right? The whole process is, if you don't get it, learn from it, ask questions, get feedback, learn, go back and keep going. Do not give up, right? So let's talk about them in stages. Learning, searching for opportunities for starters. So what is the why for searching for opportunities? First of all, I said you have to understand your motivation and know exactly what do you want. Is it because of this? I like the company. Is it because I want a better job opportunity? Is because there is growth profile potential here? Whatever it is, you have to understand what is your motivation. And then you have to go out and research for the jobs. And there are so many ways you can do that. You can go to the companies that you actually are interested in and search on their websites and see what their openings are. Most companies will advertise their openings on their websites. Make sure you create your online career brand. LinkedIn provides us a fantastic opportunity to do this. There are other job boards where you can go in there, post your resume and create your brand. Make sure you build, cultivate, and utilize networks. There are different ways to build networks. SP creates a fantastic forum for that when you engage in workshops like this and so on. It is important to just attend and then get out. You have to build networks. It's very good for your career. Use of job boards, job fairs, career websites is very popular. I'm not going to go into that much. Most of you know them, the Indeeds and the Rig Zones and the Worldwide Oil and Gas and Oil and Gas, Recruiter. There's so many websites that you can go to and begin to search for what are the opportunities that are there. I mentioned the company website. Cold calling is something that many people do. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. It can annoy some people. You just pick up your phone and then you're trying to call or even just email. Actually, probably 20 minutes before I joined this meeting, I just got an email from somebody with a resume saying, I'm going to be the best guy for your company, find me a job. I probably get maybe 2 or 3 of those every day on LinkedIn. People just send me their resume and say, I'm a good guy, hire me. To be frank with you, I don't look at them because there's so many of them coming through, and really, I don't think these people have spent the time. When you send me a generic resume, I believe you don't know what you want yet. If you have looked through the job opportunities and you have aligned your resume to the job opportunity, I feel that you are more aligned. You're ready. Those are the ones I spend my time to look at. And I'll talk about that shortly, right? So people contact recruiters and headhunters, and things like this. It's okay. It works for some people. I know people who have done that, and the recruiter says, wow, I like your ambition, I like your motivation and your zeal. And they eventually went forward to look at the candidates. On occasion, I will, if I find a profile that's kind of is a bit unique. On occasion, I will, but most times, personally, I don't. But it might work, it might not work. That's what I'm saying. Internships are another very good way that people try to gain opportunity to search for a job in a company. If you go there, first of all, as an intern, you understand the work environment, you understand what the company is about. And eventually you might apply for a job there. You might not, but it gives you an opportunity to know how it works there. You also build networks, like we talked about during the process of internships. But whatever you do, remember, you have to understand the job. When you're searching for opportunities, you have to understand what is the job. You have to understand also what is your own motivation. What do you want to do, like we said? And then you tailor your resume for the job. When you are applying for a job, as you search for the opportunities, you find one, you're applying, read very well the job description and tailor your resume for the job. We'll look at some case studies as we go on. And then apply if you meet the expectations, right? When you apply for jobs just because you want to make sure you have sent your CV to 50 places, you could be harming yourself, because what happens is that when I've seen a resume, and most recruiters are this way, most people are this way. If I've seen a resume and I thought it wasn't good enough, even if the person is applying for another job where he has tailored his resume properly, as long as I feel like, oh, this is the same guy who was just writing generic stuff the other day, I remember this name, I won't look at it. It's a human thing. So be strategic about it and make sure you apply where you meet the expectations. I'll talk more about it shortly. Do not oversell yourself because also it will work against you. It will. It is guaranteed to work against you. I have many such instances. Now, a few tips for those of us who are looking to move from our current jobs. If you are in a job right now and you're looking and searching for opportunities to move to another job, first thing I'll say is explore options where you are. Maybe they have other jobs in your current company. So you might want to have an engagement with HR or with your direct manager and say, look, I think I want to do something else. I want to move out of, I was technical, I moved to HR. You know, it was a long journey, but I had engagements and discussions, and maybe there are opportunities in there. Somebody actually contacted me on LinkedIn maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago and asked for my advice on how to do this, you know, and I gave some advice to the person on how to engage, you know, and have this kind of conversations, right? Second thing is, don't speak bad about your current employer. Don't start to badmouth your current employer, right? What goes around comes around very quickly. And a reference might be needed from your current employer for that new job. So don't badmouth your current employer. Don't use company resources when you're searching for a job. Use your personal resources. Do it at your own time, right? Keep your job hunt a secret. Don't start telling everybody around. In some cases, it can work against you. I actually know somebody, a cousin of mine, who got fired before he could get his new job, unfortunately. Because he kept feeling like, don't worry, you guys just do whatever you're doing. I'm about to get a new job in the other company. And when I'm there, you know, and then they just fired him and he lost all his benefits. So be strategic about your search and continue to be diligent on your job. You know, you still have an employment there, still be faithful and diligent on your job with a positive attitude and be professional about your exit. Even if you don't like what they have done to you, you don't like the face of your manager, which is why some people leave, but be professional till the end, okay? Once you get your new job, have a proper exit interview, you know, be nice continuously and leave in a very professional way, right? So those are some tips for those of us who already have jobs and looking for a new job. Now let's talk about the interesting topic about the CV and your resume. And sometimes we interchange these two, right? What is a CV and what is a resume? A CV actually is actually Latin for, it means the course of life, what is happening in the course of life. Whereas a resume, CV is curriculum vitae. Resume is a French word that's actually meaning summary. So a resume, in essence, is just summarize history of yourself, whereas the CV has more details about who you are. But we're going to, for the sake of this workshop, interchange the usage as the case may be. So it's really a formal document that a job applicant creates to itemize their background and qualifications and skill sets when applying for a position. It has to be tailored for the specific job or company you're applying to. We cannot overemphasize this point. And I know James has done similar sessions like this before, and he emphasizes this point as well. You have to tailor your resume. Do not have one generic resume where you're emailing to everybody. You know, it makes you look unprofessional and unserious. You know, and I feel that you don't consider this to be a serious and professional adventure. So make sure it's tailored. It should represent you as the best qualified candidate. That means that you have to study very carefully what are they looking for and tailor your resume to make you look like I am the guy you are looking for, right? And it's a marketing document. Your resume should actually get you in the room. It should give you an opportunity to have an interview. So your resume goes ahead of you. It's what we will see first and say, I think this guy has what it takes. I think this guy has what it takes. Let's invite him in for an interview, right? So it needs to be actually you know, very detailed and very concise about who you are, right? Emphasize your skills, you know, make sure that it's very clear who you are. And I said that you have to dedicate time to do it right. Iterate if you need to, get peer reviewers, mentors to look at it. You know, do I need to structure it? What comes across when you see this? You know, make it the best it can be, because this is going ahead of you. This is you before we see you, basically, right? So some quick nuggets for a very effective resume. You know, your focus here is, let me have a very effective resume. Be truthful, right? Focus on the facts. Do not oversell yourself. I'm going to say this again and again. I have a very close friend of mine. When I saw his resume, we were classmates. When I saw his resume, I was like, wow, I know he doesn't have half the skill set he put in the resume. And he got a very good job. We were in Canada at the time. And he lost that job within 1 year in such a bad way that his reputation, and Canada, Calgary is a small place, his reputation went across very quickly, such that every other job he applied for, he even when he got to the last stage, when they did the check, they just didn't talk to him anymore. So don't be truthful. Say what you have, put it nicely, but don't over elaborate and don't exaggerate, right? Focus on measurable achievements and value-added skills, right? Make sure you quantify your achievements. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples on that shortly. And don't focus on activities, focus on competency. Okay? It's not about how many things you did, how many places you went to, but it's really what you derive from it, what competency you have. Companies are not looking for people who have done activities, but they're looking for people who have competencies. So you have to focus on your competency, right? Keep it simple and concise, go straight to the point. If a resume that is too verbose makes us feel you are trying to hide something, you are trying to oversell in one way or the other. Sometimes you might need a cover letter, so be sure if that's needed. And depending on the geography you are in, there are geographical standards. So you might want to be familiar with geographical standards because some countries have some formats and templates you have to use. So be conversant with what obtains in your geography. Master your resume, of course, with the job ads, and always project a professional image. Okay, this is a professional document, so it has to be professionally done, and that's why it's good to have. It's good to have different peer reviews done on it. Final point there is soft skills. Okay. It's something people de-emphasize sometimes, especially very technical people, but it's very important. We're not looking for only bookworms. We're not looking for super talented innovators, but we also want people who are going to work, in a team. So they need to have certain soft skills. Creativity is one very good one. Persuasion, if you are in a job where you're going to do sales or manage conflict. Collaboration, if you're going to work in a team, which most of us will work in teams. Adaptability, you look at it and see that the world is changing so fast these days that what we are looking for today is adaptable profiles, right? EI, emotional intelligence, people who have control on their emotions and are able to be sensitive to emotions, in different instances and circumstances, So be very well aware of your soft skills and craft it weave it in to your resume. So let's look at some case studies. And the first one I want to look at here is on using accomplishment statements instead of generic description. So if you look at the statement here, this is actually from somebody's resume, an actual resume, where the person was presenting in the job experience section. And he says, I'm an excellent reservoir engineering manager, I'm a team player, and technical sales resource, working on several field development studies with huge success and high level of client satisfaction. If we had more time, I will ask every one of you to make comments on this particular one. But you notice some things very easily. There are some good things. I know he's a reservoir engineering manager. I know that he has some good soft skills in terms of being a team player. But everything else is just a generic verbal statement. It means nothing. This doesn't tell me much about this person, right? What about if you say, I led a team of 5 reservoir engineers? That's another way to say I'm an engineering manager, or I'm an engineering lead, right? Now that is a doing word. Using accomplishment statements or verbs helps you to buttress and to portray what you actually did. And then he says, I led a team of 5 reservoir engineers working on 3 different field studies that helped our clients to increase recovery factors in the multi-layered reservoirs. It's describing the kind of work it did. It quantifies how much improvement that did in terms of recovery factors and water cost reduction. This tells me more about this kind of individual than this generic statement. I have huge success. What is huge success? My client has high level of satisfaction. How do I measure that? If you reduce my water cost from 54% to 29%, I know what it means. I know what that means, So use accomplishment statements instead of generic descriptions. Actually, just got a resume again yesterday that coincidentally had similar, verbose generic statements that actually mean nothing. And we'll see another one. Let's look at another case study. I'd like for you guys to look at this. On the left-hand side is a job ad, right? A job description. And it's for a marketing communications specialist position. And we've underlined here some of the key elements, right, of what that role involves, both in terms of the competency and in terms of this, the skill set or personality that we need. So innovative and creative mindset, right? We see digital assets, products, and capabilities. So you see a number of things that have been highlighted here. These are competencies, and then you see the ones in red. Somebody who can collaborate, execute, serve as primary liaison. So you see support adherence. You see certain traits and qualities that we are looking for, in this. And now here is somebody who is actually strategically inducting these verbs and the skills or the nouns into their resume to be able to apply for this job. When we say tailor your resume, this is what we're talking about, right? So look at this person describing their experience, right? He says, I collaborated with the outreach department to develop innovative marketing solutions for 6 unique products, quantifying it. But look at it, it's using exactly the words, what they are looking for. It's showing that I'm a collaborative person. You want to collaborate, I am collaborating. You want to develop, I'm developing, analyze, I'm analytic, right? So he's carefully weaving in what is really needed. And that's how you describe it. He could easily have said, I work in a department, doing marketing solutions. That doesn't, you work there. Okay, what did you do? And what skill set do you have that matches with the job, right? And if you look at the same thing it does here with the nouns and the skills, innovative marketing solutions, developing innovative, look at it. You're looking for innovative guy, I am the guy. Marketing solutions, advertisement, blah, 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 I am the person, right? In outbound marketing activities, it's just managing advertising and content development. Is selling this very, very nicely, right? And this is how you align, you study the job you're applying for, and then you make sure that you have presented yourself, not lying, not exaggerating, but presenting yourself in a way that is easy for me to see that this guy has what we need, and I'm going to invite him for the interview. Let's look at the third case study. This is what I call an uninspiring resume, right? Mr. Alex here is looking to obtain a position as a software engineer and apply my many years of experience and skills. Quite frankly, I don't care about your many years of experience and skills. What are those experience and skills? What do you really bring to the table, right? And look at his selected accomplishments, turning difficult complexities into smaller, cohesive summations and presentations. I'm not even going to go further because this kind of resume is already a failure. This one has lost before he started, right? It doesn't present any numbers. And if you look at it in summary, it's using an objective statement instead of an actual concise summary. And many people do this. The resume I told you I got a few minutes before this session actually has a very nice, objective statement. I've traveled around the world and I've done my MSc and my PhD, and now I'm looking for a job. I don't really care about all that stuff. It's good. We can have a conversation about that. But sometimes a recruiter or a hiring manager has tens of resumes to look at. He goes to the summary, and you have to have a concise summary and says, what does this guy have? What does he know? Okay. So it's important to have a concise summary. If you look at the work experience session, it's uninspiring. It's missing any quantifiable experiences. I'm turning difficult complexities. There is nothing to quantify there. It lacks any action verbs, nothing to show that he did. No verb to say I'm able to do something, but not that he has done anything, right? It's missing any core competencies. I see some programming language, but I don't know of any core competencies for this. This guy is applying for a software engineering job. There's a spelling error. Even one spelling error here can put off some hiring managers or recruiters, right? It says that you don't pay attention to detail. The design is poor. The information is not tailored. So if you look at a corrected version of this resume, just look at what Alex has done now. After, I'm sure Alex attended the session that James conducted the last time, and now he knows how to do it better, right? He looks at it and he has 10 years of experience as a detail-oriented software engineer with a proven track record for gathering requirements and designing and developing applications. He describes himself very well. 10 years plus experience doing this kind of work. His core competencies come out. I'm an application programmer, software analyst. I work with clients. I've done this, I've done that. Fantastic. And see what he does here. He doesn't have a session on soft skills, but he weaves it in here. Excellent collaborative team player and an outstanding communicator. He weaves in describing himself, his soft skills. In reading that first paragraph, and in fact, these first two sections, I can already tell that this guy has what I need. Now, I could be interested in seeing how he got those competencies, but I can tell already from here, this is a candidate I want to shortlist that I want to take for a closer look, right? So let's do a quick poll here. And I'd like to see what you guys think about this. I've already made some comments, but I want to see what are the attributes of this CV that, you know, stands out the most for you. You know, anyone that you found yourself. I mentioned a few already. You know, anyone that you were able to catch, you know, looking at this resume. There's no right or wrong answer. Again, you know, anything that stood out for you, please feel free to respond. I'm not seeing any responses. Is it that people are still reading the resume, or?
I think they're reading it. They're coming through now.
Absolutely, fantastic. You can highlight multiple options. Anything that stood out for you as, you know, I found this to be something he did, that Mr. Alex did after he attended James Whitaker's session.
Thanks.
Excellent. So I'm seeing some of these coming through now. Voila, fantastic. So I think a majority of us have seen, and some people are still responding. I was going to end the poll, but I see that some people are having fun with this. Okay, no, very good. So let me end the poll there and share the results. And you see that many of us actually caught a number of these things, right? So I mean, somebody there. So core competencies, you know, are visible. You can see it very well. No spelling errors when I did a spell check. Concise summary, tailored work experience. You know, experience is quantified. You could see them with numbers. Use of active verbs. I developed. I collaborated. You know, I translated. You know, active verbs are used. At the professional layout, you know, personal information included is LinkedIn link as well. Relevant certifications are listed. Relevant soft skills are embedded in the summary. So you can see a lot of things that are, you know, very interesting about this particular resume. You know, so let's move ahead. I hope that was very good. So let's look at now the application process. And the job application process is a standard business process. You know, take note of this. It's a business process to indicate interest in the job opening at an organization, followed by different steps the company uses to select the best candidate for the job. Now, notice, it requires that you provide basic information, which they are going to use to screen. Most companies follow the same process, but there are some companies with different processes, and it's very important that you know and understand it. And I want to mention this last point. Your response to the process is assessed by the company. Excuse me. So many people don't realize that going through this process, your responsiveness, your detailed feedback, the completeness, you know, when we ask for documents, you provide them in a complete way. The communication through that, all of these are extremely important. In fact, we are assessing this alongside. And we say, no, these two candidates did well, but during the process, this guy was always very responsive, communicated very well, and all that stuff. All of these things play into how the company decides eventually. So take note of that. So in terms of the process, companies will follow this general process. You know, you apply for the job, they will screen the resume. Sometimes you get a call because they want to know you more, ask for more information, as the case may be. And you might be invited to an assessment test. You know, and if you pass that, there will be an interview. If you pass that, most companies will do background checks, make sure that everything checks out for that candidate. And then a decision is made, you get a job offer, and then onboarding takes place. In general, this is how it goes, it flows through. Some companies may have one or two additional steps, you know, but it's very important that you understand the steps, right? You know, understand the steps and the requirements, because this helps you to plan, you know. and to be realistic in terms of your expectations, so that you're not over anxious, right? So a few nuggets I put here together. First of all, know your resume. Or let's start with know the process. Know the process, because if you know the process, you can be patient. You can know what's coming next and what's coming next. So understand the process. Be patient. Understand the requirements. Do not assume that something that was requested, don't worry, they might not need it. Know the requirements. If some document is requested, it's because it is required. Go ahead and provide it. And if you don't have it, make sure you engage with the recruiter or the hiring manager to say, I know you have requested this as part of my package, but for XYZ reason, I do not have it, or I'm going to be delayed, providing it. And that goes to the element of being punctual. Like I said, we are measuring this. If we want it on time, provide it on time. Don't provide it after and say, oh, I thought it will get there sometime. Be punctual. Be strategic in your job application. We've mentioned that again and again and again. The job you apply for, make sure it's the job you want to go for. Not that you're just trying anything, because that could backfire. And take your time to prepare your resume. And then know your resume. You turn in a resume, know your resume. Make sure the information in your resume is aligned with what you said about yourself on LinkedIn. I've actually had somebody who on LinkedIn looked different from the resume he provided. I don't know how. I don't know which one is the truth. So do not give hiring managers an opportunity to doubt you. So make sure that when you're turning in a resume, you know already that somebody can go Google up my name. Make sure that you provide the right information in every platform. Right? Now let's talk about the job interviews. The job interview is basically a conversation between the applicant and the representative of the employer or the company. And it's just basically trying to understand if we should hire this person. And like we said, there's so many people that are involved applying for a job. So we want to know, are you the best fit? And something I would like for you guys to realize is that interviewers really, really want you to be successful. Okay, they're not waiting for you to fail. They really want you to be successful. We want to get this over with. We want you to be as good as your resume, right? I want to mention a few things about the job interview. Sometimes it's one-on-one, like we have in the imagery there. Sometimes it's in a group session, and sometimes it's one on many. So there's a panel that you have to face. It might be important for some people for you to know, depending on the personality. Some people don't do well when they are facing a panel. They start to get jittery. So you might want to understand, what am I going in for? And it's okay to ask in some cases. If when a recruiter contacts you, you ask, what is the day going to look like? What is the process? So that you can be mentally prepared, and you don't go in there and you're like, I didn't realize it was going to be 5 people. And now you start to panic and you forget some of the basic information, right? Some of it is about behavior. Some of them, they are trying to check your stress level. Sometimes it's assessing your competency. Mostly the technical interviews are assessing your competency. Sometimes they give you a case study and see how you handle it. In some cases, this is done by phone. In some cases, it's via video. And sometimes it's just a lunch meeting and you are going through an interview. But at this stage, you have to realize that the company is trying to determine the most suitable. For you to get to an interview stage, they already consider that you potentially could be the person. Now it's just who is the most suitable, right? And a few nuggets for the interview stage. I have a couple of slides more, and then we'll go into the Q&A. Basically, again, during interviews, listen. Listen very well to what is being asked. I've had too many interviews where we're asking one question, the person's answer is completely different, because you have, we say practice, 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 and prepare, and that is good. But don't prepare to the point where you have memorized some answers and they ask you one question and you're providing a completely different answer. You will fail most likely. It tells us that you're under pressure, you're not, the good listener, and in many jobs, you really need to be able to listen to communication and information. So listen and answer the questions. Again, practice, we say that, practice again and again. Anticipate the kind of questions that might be asked. There are so many resources So I was preparing this, I realized that, it's even more than I thought, both on YouTube and just Google it. You'll find so many resources, common questions. One of the favorite ones is tell us about yourself and how to answer that question. So practice, 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 be prepared. But when you get in there, listen. I'm going to say it again. It's very annoying and frustrating to be saying something completely different from what you are being asked, right? Know your strengths, because when you answer the questions, you want to be able to play to your strengths. So the next point on shaping your answers is really being able to play to your strengths when you're answering, right? A common question is tell us about your weaknesses. When I was hired in Schlumberger, where I work now, I was actually, they were asking people different questions, and we were actually in a room with different interviewers, and they asked us to present on our strengths and weaknesses. One of the guys, and I will never forget this because it was very memorable, it was 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses. His second bullet point of his weakness was that he cannot focus to do work when he's hungry. Okay, now, this is probably true. I don't doubt that it is true, but you're going to work in an oil industry, in a field job, where you could be on a rig doing a job, and it's a high-profile job, working under, very high conditions of temperature and pressure, and you cannot focus when you're hungry. I cannot put you in the rig with others. You are a safety hazard, So basically, he sold himself out of the job. And to be fair with you, while I was there, because we were all the candidates, 10 of us were sitting there, and, listening to each person go and present. In my mind, I was like, okay, that's one down, right? I know that these people are not hiring this guy who cannot focus. Not because I can focus better when I'm hungry, but just because that is not how you present that, right? So shape your answers in a way to emphasize your strengths, even when you're talking about your weaknesses. Have a professional approach. At the end of the interviews, ask questions. When you are there, listen carefully, make eye contact, be relaxed, be honest. It's a two-way conversation. Don't make it become, and most interviewers would like to make you relaxed and, try to engage in a conversation. And these days, even if you're panicking, most times it's online these days, so if you have to, plant your foot on the ground, hold your fists together, but just make sure that you portray energy, you portray confidence, and that you are excited about this job, and you want them to know that I am the best guy for this job. You should not be wasting time. You should be hiring me right away. Without saying that and without arrogance, but communicating very well your competencies and skill set that makes you the best guy for the job. And if it's a virtual interview, turn off your phone, look in the camera when you are talking, because now they're asking you questions. It's not like me here, I'm looking at slides and I'm trying to present, I have the video here and stuff. No, they are asking you questions. Don't try to look for materials or anything. Just go ahead and answer the questions. Listen, look in the camera and respond. Be also conscious that interviewers are looking for non-verbal cues. They're not only listening to what you're saying, but how you're saying it and your body language. Okay, so make sure that they're hearing you very well. Confirm that they are hearing you and your audio and picture is coming through. And one of the known methods in responding to interview questions is what we call the STAR approach. It's actually, basically when you are being asked a question, use that time to, again, listen to the question, but think of how you're going to answer the question with the STAR approach, right? So you're thinking of an event or an occurrence or a situation that you're going to present to use to emphasize that skill set that you want to portray through that question. So for instance, the situation will be that you're providing a context or a background. Tell us one occasion where you have shown that you are a team player. That could be any question. Or where there was a conflict and your manager asked you to do something that you don't agree with. How did you handle it, right? And you might not even have that situation because some of us on this call have never worked. You're just graduating from the university. But you were in the students' union or you were in a campus group, fellowship or religious group or whatever it is. So you're going to talk about that. Don't try to manufacture things. Once you have thought through an instance, stick with it and say, here is an instance that happened when I was in kindergarten or when I was in high school. Whatever is the story, stick with it. Don't start talking and say, oh, no. This one is better. Oh, no, let me even say another one. It portrays that you're not organized to the recruiters, right? So provide a context, a situation, describe what was the challenge and what was the problem. I had a situation with my manager where he required me to do something that I discovered that it's not the right thing to do. That's the background. That situation will have cost us to lose money or to do that. That's a challenge, and of course, being a manager, it means that, I had to find a way to handle it, right? Because if we do this, we're going to have a situation with loss of income, blah, blah, blah. And then here's what I did, how to handle it. I waited for that moment to pass, came back to my manager, put together a few numbers to calculate the losses, the impact and everything. And I came back to discuss and again with my manager outside the team meeting, because that way we could have a one-on-one conversation about it. And eventually he could see reasons with me. And this was, now you have gone through very clearly what was the situation and the potential outcomes, the action you took and the results that it came. So this is the STAR process that is usually recommended in how you handle interview questions when you are being asked. So I just wanted to put this out there. This is not my work. This is not me. I actually took this slide from Right Attitudes, but it's a good recommended approach when you're dealing with interview questions. So after the interview, just before I leave this slide, thank the interviewer for their time, reiterate that you're really interested in this job and look forward to working for them. Ask about what are the next steps. Don't leave an interview without asking questions. Typically a good interviewer will ask, do you have any questions for us? Say, actually I do, and I really want to appreciate you for the time and everything. I was wondering what would be the next steps after this. What is it like working in a typical team? What's the normal day of an engineer like here? Make sure you ask questions, and then when you leave there, go back and assess your performance, right? If you don't think about it, you don't note the feedback from either the panel or from your own mental notes, you will not be able to know how to improve for next time, right? And at the end of the day, sometimes it's recommended to send a thank you note to the hiring manager. Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with you. Send any follow-up documents and get comfortable with waiting, because some companies take time. So get comfortable with waiting, right? So that's my last slide, and I'm going to run a quick poll here for us as we wrap up. So if you are looking at your screen, you should be seeing the poll number 3 now. It's just some key takeaways. Instead of putting a summary slide, I decided to do some key takeaways as a poll. So you can actually select multiple answers. What are some of the key takeaways that you got from this session, from the presentation so far? We're going to spend 2 minutes on that, and then we'll open up to Q&A. We will take the next 25 minutes or so for the Q&A. So as you read through, make sure you read through every point there. This is very intentional. I made sure that, some things are listed there, and maybe some things are not listed. So feel free, if there's anything not listed, but you want to provide us some feedback, you can type it in the chat box as well. So I see most of us have actually responded and some of the key takeaways. In 1 minute, I will end this poll. Which of the key takeaways resonates more with you? Companies are looking for you as much as you're looking for them. Companies are looking to hire someone with a future beyond the immediate position. Be clear on your motivation for the job and have an impact strategy for next steps. Understand the job description and adapt your resume. We've mentioned that over and over. In terms of your resume, dedicate time to do it right, iterate, and peer review. Your resume should be factual and should open the door for you to be invited to do an interview. For the job interview, anticipate the questions and prepare hard, and use the STAR method to respond to questions. So I think for most of us, actually, let me share the results, as it's quite interesting here. Most people actually really like that point on understanding the job description and adapting your resume. I think we emphasize it a lot, but I agree with you. It's a very important point. And be clear about your motivation. That was the next one. So no, thank you guys very much. And so without further ado, I'm going to open up now for the live Q&A. Over to you, James.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. I really loved your examples that you gave, and I've shared many similar experiences. Just looking at this poll, the fact that understanding your job description, understanding the job description is like a key thing. I think that's probably the most common issue I see. I like you, I get CV sent to me from petroleum engineers, and I work for a membership society. So we not only do we not have petroleum engineering jobs, but that's just not what we do at all. So it's exactly that thing. People are sending me CVs for jobs that our company doesn't even do. Having to open the attachment, you know, this person hasn't taken the time to kind of think about that. And it's such a simple thing just at the beginning to really go beyond the job title and look at what they're actually saying in the job description. It's just crazy because so many companies will use the same job title and mean quite different things as well. And the scope of what one petroleum engineer might be doing will be very different depending if you're in a big team or a small team, or you know, the technology that you're using or the country or the location. All of these things make a big difference, but they tell you all of that in the job description. So it looks like we've got some good questions coming through. You might get some messages from Yun to see if you want to go on camera. I'm going to go for this one first. It was the first person in from Oyen Demilola. They aren't able to put their camera on because they're actually at work at the moment. So keep an eye out for Philip's comments about searching for jobs while you're at work. But how can you put more focus on competence rather than activity? Or how do you place more emphasis on your competence?
No, this is a very good question, Oyindamola. So it's I think your question probably came, you know, before we showed some of those examples, but most people actually make this mistake. We think the fact that you have done so many things is really what is going to impress the hiring manager or the recruiter, but it's not. When you look at the way to do it is look at what have I done and what skill set or what competency was either displayed or derived from doing that, right? So this is what you want to highlight. So instead of saying, I took part in several reservoir modeling studies, you know, I want to focus on what competency did I either display or derive from doing that, right? So when I say, if you say I took part in something, I cannot tell what part you took. Well, if I say I developed several reservoir models, you know, using the seismic data to construct the structural modeling and all that stuff. Now I'm talking about the competencies I displayed in doing that, or might have derived in doing that operation. So that's how you, the trick here is to think about it. To think about it not as, yeah, this is an activity I did, but what skill did I use or get from doing this? And now when you present it in your resume, you emphasize that skill with a verb, okay? With a verb, what you did. If everything about you is just, I was there when it happened, I was there when it happened, maybe that's not the person. So that's how you do it, to place more emphasis on your competence. I hope I answered your question, Indamola.
Definitely. We have a few shy people at the moment. I think everyone's keeping busy. But our next question from Wissam, what's the best way to include our soft skills in our resume?
So there's two ways people do this. One is the example I showed you, which is in the summary session. Some people will walk that through because they are describing themselves. They say, I'm a 15-year reservoir engineering veteran. Excuse me. Actually, that's how one of my old resumes look like. You know, I'm 15-year I have 15 years experience in doing reservoir simulation modeling, which is what I did for most of my career, with expertise in constructing reservoir models, in production enhancement studies. So then I talk about my competencies, and then I say also, I've worked in, I'm an excellent team player, work in interdisciplinary teams, and with excellent communication skills, blah, 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 blah. So you construct it into your summary. Some people will actually have a section somewhere further down in their resume where they talk about their soft skills. And in some cases, some people have actually taken training on soft skills. So they will actually put it there. I'm a certified, I have certification in French. Maybe French is not my first language, for instance, or as an effective presenter, I have a certification in that, or in emotional intelligence. So some people will actually put a section in there. So these are the two ways, but make sure that your resume in one way or the other talks about you in terms of soft skills. There are some, maybe I'll wrap up with that at the end of this, some key things that most companies want to see, whether it is in your resume or in the interview, that you have to make sure it comes out. And don't leave anybody in doubt about it. Because there are so many really good people that are causing problems in teams. So we need a really good guy, super technical guru of everything that can save the world, but he has to be able to work with people, for instance, right? So he has to be able to communicate, and so on and so forth. So that's how you do it, in one of these two ways.
Yeah, really good advice. Next question from Waleed. Hi, Mr. Phillips. Thank you very much for your insightful sharing. My question is, some fresh graduates from international universities usually face restrictions during their job hunt, especially if their home country has limited working and growth opportunities, whereas we are interested in a company that's situated in a different region. How do we overcome such barriers since fresh graduates don't have much working experience?
This is a good question. This is a good question for me because I work in Schlumberger. It's a multinational company. And actually, practically speaking, I don't know if Waleed, you have already done that. We actually have people sitting in another country that we don't have a Schlumberger operation. We are in 150 countries or so, actively in about 100, but we don't have operations in all countries in the world. So we do have people who want to apply. And yeah, you're a fresh graduate. It is a challenge. I have to point that out. It is actually a challenge for a number of reasons. Number one is so many countries are going on nationalization programs. They want you to hire nationals from that country. And that is really impacting our ability. For us, for instance, Schlumberger, we like mobility a lot. We bring people from different countries. We hire somebody from Ukraine, get him to start in the UK, hire somebody from Middle East to start in the US, but we are struggling to do that now because many countries will not give a visa to a fresh graduate. They want you to hire graduates from inside that country. Now, what can you do in this case? I'll give a hopeful and a practical answer. The practical answer is really, if it were possible, that you go and take an advanced certification or degree in that other country where you have interest, if it is possible, that is, and you have the means to do it. I would strongly advise that, and I have a lot of people who have done that, right? They'll go and do a master's degree, say in the UK or in the US or in Australia or Germany or somewhere, that then gives them opportunity to apply for jobs in that country. The hopeful scenario is if your country is into oil and gas in one way or the other, then potentially you keep the hope alive and potentially you will get something, coming up. But also you can still try to apply for those jobs. You might not, most of them, I will tell you, 99% of them you'll be screened out because you're not from that country. But there is potentially a chance where there's the company is open to somebody from another region just for diversity and so on, and they'll probably let you in. But my best advice is try to take an additional degree certification, even if it's a one-year master's in another country where that gives you an opportunity to apply for jobs there.
Perfect. Excellent, thank you. I know that that question will affect a lot of people watching. I'm going to move over to the comments in the YouTube chat at the moment. We've got one from Prince, who this question I get quite a lot. As a fresh graduate student who doesn't have any experience in the industry, what can you suggest as a way for me to make a competitive CV or resume?
This is a good question. I'm going to make some comments, but I will let James to add to it because he's an expert in this field. So for students, it's always very difficult. In fact, we don't expect your resume to be 5 pages with things. There's nothing. You've only gone to school. So we know this. Most likely, you don't have any work experience. But what we want to see, it's the same as if you are, you're applying for college, your college applications. It's really what did you do while you were in high school, or even through elementary. What activities were you involved in? What societies or clubs did you participate in? And what did that bring for you? For some people, what you will display there is your leadership skills. So what we're looking for in a student resume is really your qualifications in terms of your degree, because that's the best thing you've done so far. Your degree, your GPA, and some people will highlight the fact that they were the best graduating student or the best math student. But then some people start to put in their experience that they were part of the student union body, or they were in the SP, young professionals, and they volunteered here, and they did this event, engaged, and so all of these things are part of your story. They are part of your story. And again, going back to the question we had from, I think it was Onyidamola, on that question, you have to look at what did this experience, volunteering to teach primary school students, what skill set, what competency did I use? What did this give me? Okay. So that's the way to think about it when you construct it. Fine, you volunteered. It shows us that you are a volunteering person. You're a good person. You go outside your boundaries. You're sociable and all that stuff. But also, it shows me that you are very good in certain things, right? What did you volunteer in? Is it a science fair? You're probably a science inclined person. It shows me that you have you led something. You have leadership skills. It shows me that you're a compassionate person, depending on what you did, right? So you show your soft or hard skills. In doing that, it shows something. And that's what you want to elaborate. James, I'll let you make more comments on that.
Well, I think you've covered it really, really well. And but I probably would be fired if I didn't say SPE is a great opportunity for those volunteer opportunities. So for example, if you're in a committee chair, one of your section chairs or something like that, because I think one of the most common issues for people who have recently graduated is they've spent their whole life in academia, where you're constantly being assessed as an individual. You're just looking at your own work. You're always having to justify your own work. You're doing your research on your own. You're doing, there are team projects and things like that, but everything you're assessed on is largely about you. And then when you first go into a company, you're suddenly asked to be part of a team, and suddenly the individual part of you it's no longer kind of like the key thing. You have to be able to work into a larger group. So to show that you've worked in committees or volunteering activities, or as you say, like religious groups or anything like that, where you can show you have these skills of working with other peoples and being able to fit into existing teams. It's really, really valuable, because as Philip said, like we know you're not going to have the experience, but being able to show that you're keen to learn and keen to kind of fit in with the existing processes, that goes a really long way. Yeah, it's really difficult. Getting that first job is always a real challenge. And as you say, if you follow the other tips and make sure you're applying for jobs that you're suitable for, you may feel that you've got your PhD, therefore you should be able to get any job that you want. It doesn't necessarily work like that. You just have to make sure that the information you're applying with is relevant to the role and things like that, and maybe not just put what's most important to you or most recent to you at the top of your CV. It should be what's most important for the job. And that just shows awareness that you understand the role, and that will help people a lot. But yeah, but at the same time, be truthful, exactly as Philip says. Don't start saying you can do things that you've never done before, because that will be picked up very, very quickly. To have someone that managed to get away with it for a year is actually quite impressive, I guess. I think that's what probationary periods are for, because some people have the gift of the gab and they can talk a really good interview, but you put them in a real life situation and it doesn't work out. But yeah, thank you for that, Philip. I've heard somebody is willing to go on camera. So if I can invite, who was it? Sikandi? Sikandi able to join us on camera? Are you able to join us?
Yes, I see. I think I see him now. You're on mute though.
You're on mute? You're able to unmute? Let's see if I can. Here we go. We can hear you now, I think. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm happy to be with you. I'm happy to be with you in this meeting. And I'm called Sekandi Muksa Davis, a citizen from Uganda, and I'm pursuing a diploma in petroleum downstream operations. Yes, as per my question is, I've so much liked this session, and probably as a student of a diploma, my interest was specifically looking at some greater jobs in the oil and gas industry as a diploma holder. And I wanted to ask whether there are more interesting jobs and highly paid jobs for people with diploma holders in the oil and gas industry. That is one question. Then my second question has been in concern with the internship places, that we as continuing students, how best can we identify the best internship places so as that we can improve our experience, as Mr. Philip has been discussing on the CV and interviews, that we need to upgrade our skills and whatever, and we learn various concepts. Then the other question could be, the other question generally could be about the work experience. As students and just fresh graduates, I believe the work experience we could have in our regions could be specifically in relation to internship. And if at all someone did not have a place of internship that is considered to be at a certain standard, then how will I be considered to be among the shortlisted competitors for a certain job in the industry? Then my fourth question.
Oh, there's a fourth one. Awesome. Okay.
All right. The fourth question.
Maybe we sort out the first three and then we'll see if we can come back to the fourth.
Maybe we sort out the first three while we come to the fourth. And by the way, we'll start from the last one, right? So for you who is graduating from a university or any school whatsoever, like I said, the most important thing for us is not your job experience. We understand you do not have that. Most important thing for us is your degree of study and your GPA, right? or CPA, however it's called, depending on where you're at. That's what's most important for us. It is to know that you have done well, because your biggest challenge so far is your academics, and that you have done well in your academics, and you have come out successfully, and then you have learned what we are looking for in terms of the degree. So your internship, if you did an internship, by the way, thanks for raising that. That's another good thing you can put in your experience, right? Your internship. And sometimes if you do an engineering degree, you might have maybe 2 opportunities to do internships in some cases. And some of us actually, before going to college, after high school, you had an opportunity to do some work. Okay, don't discount that. Some of us, even while in college, we had a summer job or a business. Don't discount that, right? All of this is telling me more about you, what you have faced, who you are. All of this is bringing experience to you, Developed a business selling, cookies to kids in high school. It looks like a small thing. You may not have made money. The fact that you think through it, you put a plan together, you go and buy it, and you go and do it, is telling me something about you. That could be the differentiator from the 2 guys who have the same resume and the same GPA and so on. So that's one to put in there. The second question was around internship placements, where to find them. Now, there are some companies, not all companies, some companies do advertise internships. So check on the company websites. In some companies don't advertise that they have internships, but they allow you to apply for internships. So you can go ahead and apply, so that when it's time for them to take the interns, you will be in the pool, right? So proactively do that. Many people don't apply for internships. You will be surprised, but many people don't. They think that for you to be selected as an intern, you have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, or your professor has to recommend you to the companies. Whereas those 2 things happen, actually, most of our interns, at least I know in Schlumberger, we go on in the websites, we download all the resumes that people who applied for internships, and we interview them, and we select them. So it's good to, just like we talk about searching for jobs, search for internships, basically, right? And if you come to your first question, which I think is a very, very good question, if you have a diploma, you have a place in the industry as well. As a matter of fact, most of the field operations jobs are held by people with diploma, or technician degrees or diplomas, and a few of them by people with engineering degrees, for instance. Now, you mentioned, I want a high-paying job. It's always a desire and wish for everybody. But companies in reality today, if they hire somebody who is a master's or who has a master's in engineering or a bachelor's in engineering, they will put those people in a different classification and category in terms of salary structure versus somebody who has a diploma, who is in a different structure versus somebody who never went to college but has maybe a high school qualification, right? Because the qualification ties in with the compensation, that's how practically every company I know works. But you still have opportunities. I know so many people who came in with their diploma, did the job, and they showed leadership strengths, leadership qualities. Actually, we just last week or so, we just promoted somebody to become a manager. But this is somebody who came in with a diploma, but in the field, he showed himself to be a really good profile. On top of his work, leads the team, and we made him a field supervisor. And from there, now he's becoming a manager. So that's the reality of things and how it really works. But you do have a place in the industry, for sure. James?
Fantastic, thank you. I'm aware we're just a few minutes away from the end of time now, so I'll try and do some quick ones and try and get as many questions done as quick as possible. Ismail says, is it required to put professional photo, gender and marital status to your CV? What's your response to that, Philip? It's different for me in the UK, I would assume.
Short answer is based on geography. UK, yes, where most places no. Some information are actually illegal to put on a CV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just know what is obtainable in your geography.
Yeah. If they ask for it, put it in. But yeah, if they're not asking for it, I wouldn't worry too much. Sometimes I worry when someone adds a photo. I start going in a cycle of, oh, am I deciding this because of how they look? Whether they're attractive or are unattractive, you kind of think, oh, are people going to look at the decision I've made because of the photo? And I think, like, I prefer to keep it out altogether, to be honest. As long as it doesn't affect the job, it doesn't matter. What other ones have we got here? Any tips on how to respond to unprepared questions?
So if you have a question that asks you and you're not ready for it, there's two types of questions that can come. It's one that you know the answer. There is another one that you don't know the answer. If you don't know the answer, do not go and start blabbing. You will look really, really bad. Actually, it shows something else about you, that you will forge results or response in certain instances. So don't just politely say, actually, I'm not very sure, but I could come back to you on that, right? So that shows that you're a thoughtful person. If you know the answer, but you didn't prepare on how to present it, go for as simple a response as possible so that you don't sell yourself short. And just go for the meat of the answer to that question. And sometimes you might be a little bit vague and say, from what I know, this is this, that. Like in some interviews, they'll ask you, what is your opinion about the US withdrawal from Afghanistan? I mean, I don't have an opinion. I never thought about this stuff, right? But they just want to know, and then you say, well, I think all sides have a reason for this, whether it's the Afghans for them to stay in there or the Americans to leave. I'm not an expert in this field, but I believe that this is something that really needs very thoughtful consideration. I have not said anything. I have said something that is not a lie, but it also shows that I understand context, but I'm not going to commit myself, right? So be skillful in how you navigate it, basically.
Definitely. I'd say that there's ways where it's okay to not know the answer, and then there's times where it isn't okay to not know the answer. If people are asking you about your career and where you want to be in 5 years' time, it shows that you haven't really thought about your career path, and that immediately puts doubts in people's mind of, do they really want this job? Are they going to stay in 6 months? Are they going to decide to move because they want to do something else? That kind of thing. So there are questions like that you should definitely have answers to, like the Afghanistan question and things like that. The reason why people ask questions like that is probably two parts. They want to see how you deal with stress, like see how you deal with unprepared situations, because in reality, you're going to be in situations like that, and they want to know that if you can compose yourself, if you can like think things through quickly. They're not necessarily looking for your exact answer, but they're looking like, how are you going to respond to that? So just try and stay calm and just respond to the best that you can. But yeah, there are reasons for those kind of really weird questions, like what kind of superpower would you have and things like that. People they want to put you on the spot, see how you deal with stress and things like that. So yeah, don't worry too much. Right, there's some more info. People are asking for some more information about STAR. I think we'll try and send some information out on that after this event. But I'm aware we've gone slightly over time, and I really want to say thank you to Philip for providing his amazing insight to this. We've got a poll up at the moment. It would be great to hear your feedback. Again, if you have any further questions, do email them to yp@sp.org. I will share them with Philip, and we'll try and get back to you. But yeah, it's been really great. We've got 100% excellent, extremely valuable. That's really good. Well done, Philip. Don't forget that there are lots of other programs going on for students from YPs throughout the week. We have this afternoon, we have our student meet and greet, where we will be doing an interview with SP CEO Mark Rubin. He started off as a petroleum engineer and is now the CEO to a membership society. So we're looking at interesting and different career paths that you can take. So that should be a really, really good one. And we'll have some good networking sessions as well. Later on in the week, we have our student paper contests. That's all taking place tomorrow for undergraduate, masters and PhD. And then the day after that, on Wednesday, we have our workshop on Do I Need an MBA? We have a really good panel discussion going on that with a wide range of experience being showed there. And then finally, we have our young members reception, where we will be exploring, we have a very special guest speaker from the UN who will be talking to us about her views on the future of the industry. So that should be a really good session. Don't forget, as well as that, we also have the Students' Award ceremony, and there's also some activities going alongside that as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much again, Philip, as well. You've made our first session incredibly informative and useful, I hope, as well, to everyone watching it. But yeah, I really, really appreciate it. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, Philip.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, James and SP, for the opportunity, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.